We have a very special episode of the Think Status podcast today because we have a guest who is a professor at UCLA, a linguist, and a seeker, as she says in her own words. This is a compilation of conversations that we've had and wanted to share these ideas with you on how to gain more peace of mind in the times that we're in, despite what's going on. So enjoy the show.
I'm a language instructor. I've always been interested in language as a way to understand human diversity because language shapes the way we think, the way we contribute to the world. We speak more than 6,800 languages in the world, which falls into pretty much a comparable category of peoples and tribes and ways of thinking and perceiving the world around this globe. So I think that you can catch a glimpse of the diverse beauty and wisdom there is in so many different minds living out there. So that was my first approach to my career, like getting to understand this diversity, these human beings that we are. What are we doing here, and how do we shape our world by language? That was my first approach to my career. I wanted to go beyond that, and I've always had desire to go beyond daily life and normal life situations. I think that there's so much more than my five senses perceive and what my language can tell. And I'm going to quote my favorite poet, Walt Whitman, on this one. He says something like, "I swear to you, there's more divine things that words can tell. You know, the language can express." That's my true interest. So I'm a linguist, but I don't know if I'm a linguist. I'm a seeker. I'm a seeker of beauty, of wisdom, of truth, of light. I don't know how to call it. I'm a seeker more than a linguist. And I think everything around my world falls into this category. It doesn't matter if it's business or linguistics or drama, everything. We are shaping our world with language. We are contributing to it with the way we think, the way we create our realities. This is my journey, and this is where I'm at.
How have you kept your peace of mind, and how have you stayed happy inside?
I mean, it's always a challenge, and we're all struggling, and we are all battling our own things. I would say that a very basic thing that people can do on a regular basis would be asking themselves every single morning, what is the most loving thing I can give to myself today? It's just entering a room and wanting yourself first, like taking care of yourself first before approaching others, before treating others, before responding to your calls and your duties and all your busy life, right? So I think it starts from the inside. I think that meditation to me really helps because it gives me a filter of love on how am I going to treat myself on that day, how am I going to speak to myself, how I'm going to, and that will mirror on the way I'm going to treat others. So I just make sure that I am treating and that I am talking kindly to myself, first before I approach the outside world. And that is usually a mirror how you feel and how you're treating and how you're understanding yourself. Also, if you're having a bad day, just be okay with it. Like sometimes we're all a perfect mess, and that's okay. Sometimes we are doing fine, and that's okay. You should get to know yourself, and that takes a bit of time, and that takes a bit of commitment to really get to know you and what are your needs and who are you, what are you doing here, and what makes you and what makes you happy.
It's so important because it's exactly what you said about how you speak with yourself. It kind of reflects the external as well. And so how can people get more in touch with themselves? Because you talk about meditation. It has different meanings for different people, right? If you ask a Christian, what is meditation? They might say prayer. And you ask a Buddhist, what is meditation? they'll say something else, like, how do you define meditation and how can I use it to help my life?
Sometimes, we have a roommate, which is our mind, right? And it's this inner internal voice that is always like, hey, you're not good enough in this. Hey, you're not smart enough in that, blah, blah, blah. So I think, to me, becoming friends with that little person here and say, hey, what do you have to say today? Grab a seat, we can speak, right? We can talk. And giving that space. And to me, meditation creates a space between that little inner voice and my true self. Mm-hmm. So the way I do it is by bringing my attention to the present moment. So if I feel overwhelmed, I try to identify where am I? If I'm in the future or I'm in the past, I just bring it back to the present moment. And in the present moment, I find relief. And it takes time for some people. And also, some people are not very big into sitting down and just, there are other ways to live mindfully. And I would say that living mindfully is the key. Like, you don't have to be a yogi. You don't have to, go to retreats or stay there for 2 hours without a blank mind. It's not about that. It's just finding the way that works for you. It's just finding the routine that supports you, your system. We're all different people. Rule number 1 is dropping all expectations about you and how you should be doing and behaving. And that is killing us. There's nothing out there to achieve the truth of what we already are. I think, all the expectations really hurt us. So I'm so much in favor of dropping everyone's expectations. I think growing up, we unconsciously acquire this thing of placing our value and worth on external situations going right. The moment everything starts going wrong, all your life gets destroyed, right? And you understand how fragile and how that empty that system you were living in was. And that's the biggest truth. And whenever we catch a glimpse of this, I call that freedom. Just not having anything mapped out and staying in this moment and saying, there's nothing to do. I'm already here. I'm enough. I am enough. And I really hope that, throughout this mandatory time of stillness, we understand that we are enough. We grow with this.
From a business standpoint, it's like putting the brakes on, it's like, all right, I'm present, and now what? So once you claim that freedom, once you experience that peace in your heart, and you get to experience the beauty that the moment brings, then what?
Then you will be guided to a life that contributes wisely to your well-being and contributes to your growth. And maybe you start to make decisions. Maybe you start to say, what is truly important for me? What can I get rid of? How can I improve? It's all about maybe making decisions that will contribute to you. And whatever, there's not. I'm not saying we shouldn't have goals and we shouldn't have expectations, and and of course, like, we should. We are dreaming this dream, and we are here because our ancestors dreamt of a better life. So I think we should do it. Now, how are we going to do it? Maybe we should look at the roots of how we have, created a system that values certain things on top of others, so you can reassess your values, for example. It takes a lot of courage. It really does. Because once you get in the wheel of, I have to pay everything, I have to pay my bills, I have to do this, I have to do that. Mm-hmm. I understand it's so stressful to even think about staying in the present moment. It becomes difficult, but it's worth the effort. And we always have the right to restart again. We always have the right to make new choices. Like, nothing is permanent. You can and you have the right to reassess your life and to start again and to rethink what you want to be. How do you want to contribute? And there's no good or bad way. It's your way. But make sure it's the reflection of how you want to contribute. And as long as you're truthful to that, hey, support you. I really do. Like, don't do that because of someone else's expectations.
Okay.
Just do it because it really makes you grow somehow. It really makes you more you. And your gut does not lie. So reassessment. Like, first is reassessment. And once you do that, maybe you can start making decisions. Adversity comes to your life to bring out something new, to bring out your warrior, to make you understand that you're limitless. It's not about stealing from you, but we always have that right to reassess everything. How you want to do it, it's your thing, it's your choice. Like, whatever you think is truthful for you, just go ahead, just do it. I would say it's a pity to live a life because someone else expects you to do this or to do that or to achieve this or to achieve that. That's sad to me.
So many people are just overwhelmed. Do you have a framework? Do you have a style of meditation?
Yeah, of course, absolutely. It sometimes varies. It really depends on my particular needs, or like it can really change a lot. We don't always need to feel perfectly fine and perfectly empowered, and that's not reality. Come on, it's just not how it works. And it's really okay to feel overwhelmed. It's really okay to be stressed. It's really okay to say, hey, am I choosing, this is the life I want to live? Is this how I want to contribute? Like, this is the first step to, understanding yourself, which is a huge journey. We're all battling here. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say suppressing that would be a good idea. Like I wouldn't want to, create this message of you should suppress your feelings over, when you feel overwhelmed or discomfort or anything like that. You just treat them as guests. You just treat them as people who may have a message for you, who may want to tell you something. So you just invite them, you just treat them well, but you don't want them to stay forever, right? So as long as those feelings are not permanent in your life, I would say we all coexist with sadness, with fear, with so many feelings. It's more problematic if we're constantly living on fear.
Yeah, most entrepreneurs and salespeople, they're focused on the future and they're focused on the next transaction. They're focused on the next whatever. That's why I wanted to have you on the show, because of your ability to perceive these things. It's fascinating to listen to. And it's like, looking back, I think about times when I'm doing certain things. I mean, that's why I think I love playing hockey, because it's like a dance. It's like when you're dancing, you forget about life and you just kind of you're in the moment. You're forced to be present to a certain degree. You can, from what I hear you saying, is that you can experience that in every moment of life, like whether you're doing the dishes or making coffee or whatever. In my experience, it feels amazing to do that. You kind of alluded to how much time, like the yogi 2-hour meditation, but generally when you're doing the guided meditation on your own, how long does that last usually?
A good hour.
Yeah, when I do my meditations, they range from I'd say 15 minutes is a good minimum one that I do. But when they go longer than that, like sometimes I just fall asleep. But that's my own personal experience with that. But sometimes, I mean, when I was younger, I did some meditation retreats in the Vipassana style. Are there any other habits that you have that help you with your peace of mind?
I've always found that the night is very alive. And as someone who likes to write, I genuinely love these kind of moments. And I only find them at night. It doesn't come during the day for some reason. So it's just, you should try to create your own routine for you, whatever that is. Sometimes if you have children or if you're married, obviously you don't have that much time, but still it's very important, because otherwise you lose yourself. You're surrounded with people, you're surrounded with noise. So you need to make contact with you. So that's very important. But I think it's necessary for everyone. And you always have the right, and you can always do it. There are no excuses. We began with this conversation of how language and how we shape the world and how we perceive the world differently. I've always been interested in knowing more ways to perceive my world. I'm very appreciative of how I've been raised, but I know that it's not the only way to look at the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I just really find very enriching to look at everyone else's way to perceive business, life, love, and it's always good to know. It's always good to learn, and so you can create it, your personality, your true self.
For the people listening, where can they find out more about you and how to connect with you?
I guess we can start with my Instagram. It's Cris__LBX.
Can you spell that out for us?
Yeah, so CRISNEK_LBX.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been amazing having you here.
Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me. Thank you.
And that concludes another episode of the Think Status podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, producer, and engineer, Hector Diaz. Today's guest was Cris Gómez, Lacabex. If you enjoyed the show, please give us a review on iTunes, subscribe to us wherever you heard this, and thanks again for tuning in. Take care.
Llueve fuego del cielo, quemando a los que me quieren matar. Por causa de soberbia, mi piel morena me protegerá. Camino por las calles, el fuego alrededor de mí. Todo comienza a caer. Regresan a su lugar, el río comienza a fluir, miro hacia el cielo, el sol y las nubes, 1000 pajaritos al cantar, ay la ra ra, canta la ra y la ra, cantará ira, ira, ira. Cantar, 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 cantará. Después mi gente se levanta, quitándose el traje de Babilonia, bailando ahora en vestido tradicional. La primavera ha regresado y el verano corazones calentará. Pronto que pronto nos convertiremos en la tierra, unidos con el mundo germinaremos con ella. Ojos serán hojas comiendo del sol y la mente se abrirá como una flor.